Okay, I'm back again. It's another day for me. So this has been a pretty drawn out little project, but I have 2 jobs and that keeps me pretty busy. So I'm gonna try finish it in this session. So what I'm gonna do now is just kind of keep working the wings. I was thinking about what to do with them on my time off of recording, and I think I'm gonna try to blend out some of the color on the inside, and I'm gonna texture it a little bit and add kind of a ridge up there, so hopefully that'll be good. And I was going to add just a little black ridge kind of along the top of it. And then after that, all that's left to do is really add the sort of suggestion of scales and ridges and stuff, and then bake it. And baking is a whole beast in itself. There are instructions on the package that you get with your whatever kind of clay you get. I'm working with Sculpey and then a Craft Smart brand. The Sculpey is a lot nicer to work with. Well, I like it better anyway. Softer and stuff. But anyway, they bake pretty much the same. I think it's like 275 or something that you're supposed to bake it. I'll put some instructions in the description of the video, but follow your package instructions. And a very, very important tool that I would suggest investing in is an oven thermometer, because I set my oven to what I thought was the right temperature, what it said on the package, and I found out that that isn't the temperature that's actually going on inside the oven. So I ended up with a lot of burnt pieces when I was first experimenting with polymer clay, and it's really sad. You work on this little clay, whatever you're making, jewelry or just a figure, and it's got nice colors and you're proud of it, and then all of a sudden it's just a burnt nothing, and it's just really sad. So check the temperature of your oven. That's definitely what I would do. I think I set my oven, like the dial says I'm at like 210 degrees or something like that, so it cooks like 50 or 60 degrees hotter than what it actually says. So it's a lying oven, and that's not awesome. And I think I've set my next project that I'm going to try record for you guys, but I mean, this is the first one, so if anybody out there is watching and you have something that you'd like to see, some media you'd like me to use, either more polymer clay, I was going to do some needle felting, I was going to try doing some sewing projects and stuff, so if you have any ideas for a media or a project idea, I would love to hear some ideas, because creator's block is a real thing and it kind of sucks. So okay, now let's attach these little guys, because I'm pretty happy with them. So I don't want to like stab them all the way through his body, so you don't need a really long piece of wire, but just, you know, like that. I don't know, like maybe that's a ½ inch or so. I'm gonna stick the wing on first, just to kind of see where I want it to sit, and I'm gonna put it on the wire first, and then I'm gonna attach it. Actually, no, I lied. I'm gonna poke a hole in both things, kind of where I want it to sit. Right about there, I think is good. So I like to pre-poke a hole on the smaller piece, because if you put this in and then try to poke a hole, you can often like poke it through the side of something, and it's just a bit of a mess. So that's what it's like when you just put a wire through. It's a lot easier. I'm not super afraid that's gonna fall off. I will spend some time to put a little bit of black clay just right there to further attach it, but I mean, it's pretty sturdy. You can also, what I've seen people do is poke a hole and make something that they're going to attach with glue later. In my experience of poking a hole in something and trying to work with it later, I poked a way too small hole, and then what I wanted to do wouldn't really work, so that was fun. It was not. It was sad. But you can always figure it out and kind of make it work. You can become a MacGyver. Now, I'm gonna do the details, and I'm just deciding where to start with that. Why don't we start with some sort of close to the body flat scales? I'm gonna go from, I'm going to do a color gradient, I just decided. So I'm going to mix these two. I have a dark purple and a dark red. I'm going to mix them together in approximately equal portions, and I'm going to start red and go purple kind of down his body as kind of like flat scale like plates along his back, and then to the side of those I'm going to do some bumpy thingies in a gray. And he's also got a pretty distinctive mouth thing, like he's got kind of ridges on the side of his mouth. So I'm going to try to do those just so you kind of can tell he's the Gore Magala, he's supposed to be that. Because right now he just looks like, you know, any old dragon so far. Cute though, that's okay. Okay, so yeah, I'll do the scales first. So I'm going to start kind of at the top of his head and work my way down his body. I'm also going to put some on his arms and legs. He's just got kind of little plates going on. So I'll start red and I'll go purple. For flat little scales, what I've done before is just take like a really, like way small piece of clay, like smaller than you think you need, and roll it into a little tiny oval. Position it where you want, just right there, and then squash it and kind of just like tap it into the shape that you want, and you can get some nice detail. You can clean it up with tools that you have, and you can also kind of just like push it into place with your finger, just kind of like stretch it and push it as you're tapping it. You can smear it pretty easily, so just be kind of slow and steady with it. That's kind of cute. So I'm going to do 2 or 3 this sort of lighter red color, and then I'm going to switch to the purpley red, and then I'm going to go purple on it. And I'm going to have some of the black sneaking between the scales, because when you look at the Gore Magala, he's mostly black, and I just want these to be kind of like feature detail scales, not kind of what color he is, because he really is quite dark. Yeah, I'm going to switch to this more purpley color now. I like that. I mean, even if he doesn't end up looking quite like the Gore Magala, I'm not unhappy with it. So there's, you can always, I have a problem where I try to, force something to be perfect, or force like making a project that has everything, like wings and horns and this and that and all the details, where it is, I think, better just to make more projects. So if something doesn't turn out exactly the way you want it to, just make another one. Just make a whole bunch until, you fix your mistakes and get it how you have it in your head. And it's a process kind of thing. It doesn't just, sometimes it happens, but I think for me at least, it happens by accident a lot. But practice is kind of a more surefire way, I think. And if you do mess up, you can peel it up with your X-Acto knife carefully. I'll just show you. I'll sacrifice one, I'll show you. So you just take it and you kind of scrape it up. And you can kind of do a pretty good job and help your clay survive, and you can just smooth out what's underneath and just try it again if it's not right. Especially since we're putting on to black clay, you're not going to stain it or anything, or at least you won't be able to see it, which is good. If you're working with lighter colors, it's kind of a nightmare. I'm gonna do his face sausages. So to make this easier, if you're putting on like a tiny sausage kind of thing, roll yourself out a bigger piece of clay, like longer than you think you need, longer than you will need, and just cut pieces off of it, because trying to make it from scratch, you're cutting off and it's not working, and it's just easier to get the right size when you have a whole long thing. And then you can get it kind of the thickness you want. So I don't want them too, whoops, oh, okay. I don't want them too small. I think about that. And I'm gonna do 3 of these on each side. Just some face texture. Now that's too big. I don't like that. So even smaller, and I want it to be closer to his nose, actually. There's always like a little tapered part at the end, just cut it off. Oh, I lost it. Oh, there it is. Okay. Take it, stick it on right about there. So I'll let you guys see. So I just put it there. I'm not going to smooth it out too much because I do want it to stick out, but I don't want it to look goofy. So I'll just keep it there. So I'll do 2 or 3 of those. you know, me taking some breaks from filming and working on this project. A side effect is that you get some time to kind of step away from the project and come back at it with fresh eyes. And often if I'm, you know, not feeling good about something or stuff like that, or I'm not sure where a project's going to go, that is often extremely helpful, because, you know, sometimes you go back to it and you're like, oh, you know, this isn't crappy actually, it's okay, and I got this cool idea what to do with it. So if you're frustrated or you're adding too much or you're getting kind of haphazard with your technique, it's no big deal to walk away from it for a day or two, because polymer clay doesn't, oh, my phone's ringing. Polymer clay doesn't actually dry out. It's a plastic based stuff. Some science. Insert science speak now. So if you just cover it up, I've been using just like a box lid to cover up my project when I go away. It just prevents dust from settling on it, because when you bake it and there's dust in it, you can see it pretty good. So I like to, you know, keep it as dust free as possible. And another thing you can do is you go over it with rubbing alcohol with like a Q-tip once you're done, and I will try to do that, and that eliminates fingerprints. It takes off the like a very thin layer of clay on the top. It eliminates fingerprints, which looks good, and also your oils from your skin get on the clay and they can make hot spots when you're baking it, which is a problem because often that leads to burns and stuff. Okay, I'm procrastinating putting these little spikes on. The problem is that, no, it's not a problem. I just want it to be a little bit darker. If I'm going to add black or white to colors, it shifts in tone, like a little bit goes a long way. So when you're mixing colors and you want, you know, just a hair lighter, be patient, take your time and add just a hair, and you know, do that 100 times, because I often will add way too much and you'll end up with this really way light color or way dark. So be patient with your clay and just kind of do things step by step. My friends and family would probably laugh when I say that, because that is not the type of person I am. I kind of look after I leap a lot of the time, but that's another thing I like about crafting, is that I think it makes you kind of slow down and focus on something, and you know, it gives your brain a little break from money and school or whatever else you're doing. Okay. I'm just going to put these little nubbers . Oh, he's kind of cute. I'm going to put these all the way down to his nose, because they kind of look like eyebrows. At least at the picture I'm looking at, not quite like eyebrows, but like in place of eyes, he's kind of got this like ridge thing going on. It looks really cool. Whoops. And I think I can already tell that I like that. It's making him look more Gore Magala-y. And I did want him to look like that, so I'll put on one more. Just there. So I'm leaving them a little bit raised up. I'll squash that one down. I'm going to keep them touching. I like how that looks, and I'm going to just go along his whole length right to his tail. with my details. Pretty much happy with it. That's how he turned out. I think he's cute. I had fun making it. I like the colors. The downside, I don't know how much he looks like Gore Magala, and I think the colors are a little bit too bright. I'm also not like 100% on the first scales I put down, but overall I quite like it. I really like his like little pebble scales. Yeah, I think he's pretty good. 5 out of 7 would make again. He's fine. But I'm gonna add his butt, and this is optional. You definitely don't have to add a butthole if you don't want to, but I do, and I always will. That's just gonna be the finishing touch that we always do. That's how we do it. And then I'll show you my setup for the oven. I have my tray here. I have rubbing alcohol to clean them up a little bit. Another tip that I would say, I like to put the clay in a cold oven and then set the temperature and allow it to kind of preheat while it's in there. I think that way you minimize cracks that appear in the clay because it kind of warms up a little bit more gradually with your oven. And then same thing when you're done baking it, I'll turn the oven off and leave it in there for an extra however long and just let it cool off like that, because I think the change in temperature is less extreme, and I think it cracks a little bit less. So now I'll show you guys my rig here. So regular baking sheet. Like I said, I don't put them in this way because I think that makes like a really hot zone. I'd rather have him on top, just like that. Because I think there's a little bit of air underneath him. I think that just makes baking a little bit less. So there he is. A little spin. I'm pretty happy with him. I like him a lot. So I'm gonna put him in the oven, and everybody please cross your fingers because I'm worried. I get worried. But anyway, he'll be fine. If not, you can paint him after and it'll be fine. So wave bye-bye. Bye-bye. Okay, so I am back with the final product to show you. This is how he turned out. Hopefully you can see that. Oven-wise, I'm really happy. He didn't burn, he didn't char or anything like that. He's got only a little tiny crack in his back, so that's fantastic. All in all, I think he's pretty cute. I like him. I don't think he super looks like Gore Magala, which is a little bit sad, but that's okay. I think he's pretty cool still, and it was a good learning experience. There are parts of him that I really like. I really like his arms and his how his face turned out, but I'm not super crazy about these and the bright colors, but that's okay. It was a learning experience, and you know what? First video done. That's exciting. So I just wanted to say thank you guys so much for watching, and any tips or tricks or some things that you would want me to make, please leave in the comments. The other channel that I mentioned is still sort of in the process of being set up, so before I mention too much about that, I'll just say look for that in the future. Anyway, I hope y'all have fun crafting and stuff, and yeah, thank you very much for watching. We'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!